Pedagogy at the Institute of Sustainable Economic, Educational, and Environmental Design. She has worked with several school districts throughout the nation, including the San Francisco Unified School District, to co-develop ethnic studies, social justice, and Filipino language curriculum.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to appreciate you all for being here on a Saturday. I just want to say thank you, especially to Kuya Jojo, not my Kuya, but your Kuya. And then I think I'm a little older. And then also Lauren, thank you, for really organizing this and making it happen and inviting me, And so I just want to say I appreciate being in this space. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I got this thing, folks. I know that most people don't like to show their screen, but if you feel like you could show your screen and talk to me, because I'm actually just going to talk today with you. I'm not going to try to give a full presentation. I just want to see who I'm talking to. It allows me the opportunity to get some expression and reaction from you to see if what I'm doing is making sense. So thank you for turning on your camera. I would love to see as many faces as possible. We're a pretty small group. And I promise you, I won't judge if your hair is messed up or you don't have no makeup on or, you have laway down your face. I don't mind. I'm cool with it, it's okay. Ooh, see, people are turning it on. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, some of your last names are like people I know. So my gut is telling me that I might either be related to you or I know someone who is. Thank you. Oh my gosh, look at people turning on their camera. That's totally fabulous. I got a 16-year-old, so I know how it is in her classes. They don't like to turn it on, but unless someone's pretty cool and they want to see them. So I'm hoping that I can get you to turn on your camera, even just for a little bit. So basically, I'm here today. I got 20 minutes. And in 20 minutes, I was thinking, well, it's Saturday. This is my day off. So it should be a day of chismes. You know what I'm saying? It should be all about the gossip and the juiciness. You don't want to be listening to me, giving a full keynote presentation with slides and stuff. So I will show a slide if you want me to, but for now, I think I'm just going to do some chismishing. Is that okay? Can I get some head nods? Okay, cool. If you don't want to show your screen and you don't want a head nod, you can give me a little thumbs up once in a while if you feel like you agree what I'm talking about. So I have this really good friend who I often talk about. Her name is Dr. Don Mabalon. I think, is it Ajala? How do you say your name?
Ajala, yeah.
Okay, Ajala actually grew up in her neighborhood. Am I right?
Kinda. I'm a little more North Stockton, but she was from South Stockton.
He making that very clear. From the north and she from the south. Okay, but you're from Stockton. Okay, so I hear you. Okay, so good. But I just wanted to bring her into this space, not so much just her as her spirit, but then also some of the things she taught. And she said this really important quote that I can never forget. And it was, history is chismes with footnotes. That is one of my favorite quotes from her. And I think about it and I'm like, chismes is so important. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of tea today. Is that all right? Okay. So for 20 minutes, well, now only 15, right? Talking some tea with you all. So I'm older than you all, but back in the day, I used to know this one Pinay. I may be kind of talking S about her. Oh, look, I'm trying not to swear. Is it okay if I swear? Oh my gosh, high school students tell me. Okay, so I might talk a little shit about her, but I love her, okay? But 35 years ago, oh, that's a long time ago, I used to know this Pinay, and she was kind of your age, some of you high school students, right? And basically, she was a junior in high school. How many of you are juniors or seniors in high school? Can you give me a thumbs up or a finger? Oh, no, don't give me that finger. Just kidding. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, I got some thumbs up. Oh, cameras. Thank you. Okay. So most of you are probably around that age, right? I mean, And then I think about it, and she was kind of cool. Like, she was that Pinay who was kind of cool, but not the coolest or the most popular. She was just kind of cool, right? She hung around different crowds of people. She was most excited about hanging around her DJ friends. She wasn't a DJ. She thought she wanted to be, but she really couldn't do it. So she couldn't afford all that equipment, So like, she just hung out with a bunch of people who were DJs. She loved to dance, right? And she went to all them parties, like garage. I don't know if you all still have those, but garage parties. And she would go to like those church hall parties. She was one of those Pinays. She would show up and she would get all ready to go. That was one of the most exciting things about her high school years. So she was kind of known to be a party girl. I don't know what you call them nowadays, but I think that there's probably some inappropriate and condescending names that people would call her. But anyways, I digress, a little bit too much chismis, yeah. But anyways, this Pinay, right? She was, she was just kind of a regular old Pinay, loved to party. But she also hated to go to class, this Pinay. I don't know if you all have that Pinay, or you are that Pinay, or you are that Pinoy, or whatever you want, Pinex, right? But she hated to go to class. She literally struggled from the very first day of high school. She even like shifted from college prep, like her counselor changed her from college prep to more remedial courses because she wasn't doing well, right? She was totally disinterested in what was being taught. And her teachers would actually like kind of ridicule her when she was there in school. They would call on her and she wouldn't know the answers. They would also like tell her, oh, stop talking to your neighbor. I don't know if teachers still say that, but like, that means that you're talking to your friends too much. She was chismissing too much to her friends. And it got to the point where she even would ditch school, like literally hang out in a school parking lot, doing who knows what with who know who, right? And just hanging out there. And that started to catch up with her, right? And one year during junior year, her counselor called her mom and said, I need to talk to you. Your daughter is not doing well in school, right? So she calls in the mom and brings the Pinay in and says, okay, look, I just want to let you know that your daughter's not doing well in school, and a couple things are going on. If she doesn't start to do well, she's not going to graduate from high school. And the other thing is college is really not for Pinays or girls like her. And my mom flipped. Oops, did I just say my mom? Oops, I meant to say that Pinay's mom. So that Pinay's mom flipped her, and said, excuse me, my daughter is going to college. My mom has no accent, by the way. I'm just saying, I just like to give her an accent when I'm telling stories. So anyways, the Pinay's mom was like, no way, my daughter is going to college. And the Pinay herself actually didn't really want to go to college, but her mom was so adamant about it. So the counselor said, well, the only way she's going to be able to go to college is if she goes to summer school every summer and night school. And so the mom forced the daughter to go to summer school, night school, just to graduate from high school, right? And it's crazy because the girl was just she was just trying to get by. But she did make it to graduation with a 1.83 GPA. Barely graduated, right? And her mom said, you need to go to college. I don't care what your GPA is, you got to go to college. But obviously no UCs, definitely not UCSD, right? And no CSUs would accept someone with a 1.8 GPA. Come on now, right? So she went to this place called Ohlone College. Ohlone College is a community college. How many of you all know what a community college is? I don't need to tell you, right? It's like a 2-year college. Well, it's not really 2 years, by the way. It's usually like a junior college or city college. Okay, cool. So you kind of know, right? So she ended up at Ohlone College, and Ohlone College was the only school that she could end up going to. Ohlone College is in Fremont, California. Basically she went to high school with a bunch of people who went to Ohlone. Like, so all the people that she went to Ohlone with were people that she either went to high school with or people that she knew. So she goes to Ohlone And she like looks through the course catalog and she finds like these courses that say the word transferable, because some counselor said, get transferable courses. And so she takes this one course. This one course is called the Introduction to Ethnic Studies. And she goes in there because she heard that it's an easy A, right? And then all her friends were taking it too, and it was transferable, right? So she gets into the course, and then she goes and sits in the back of the row. You know how it is. Them people who sit in the back of the row, they always laughing and chismising and doing all kinds of stuff and probably not listening to the teacher, right? So all her friends are back there. She's chilling with all her friends, and this dude walks in. This big dude. And he was huge, right? Like tall and big and Chicano. He walks into the room and he looks around and he's just like, who are these students? And he says, or actually I take it back. He asks the class, how many of you in here have experienced racism? Well, if I ask that here, how many of you would raise your hand? How many of you have experienced racism? Okay, I got 2 participants raising hand. Oh, 3, 4. Okay. All right. Well, in the class, okay, I saw all the college students raise their hand because they must have taken an ethnic studies course. I'm just kidding. All right, so I thought about. Oh, sorry, she did not raise her hand. This Pinay, right? I'm butchering this story. The Pinay did not raise her hand, right? And neither did her friends, you know, like, and then the professor looked around and saw almost nobody raise their hand. And he told the class, y'all are liars. Y'all are liars. You all in here, because you are people of color, have experienced racism. So don't bullshit yourself. I just remember that first day going, oh, this guy's got all kinds of fire, it's all kinds of attitude. Right? But then I was listening. For some reason, because of that attitude, it made me listen to him, right? And each day he would continue to talk about these things, you know, like racism, oppression. And then he started talking about colonialism. Then he started talking about imperialism. Then he started talking about the war that was about to happen, the first Persian Gulf War, right? He started talking about all these things. And I was literally listening. And so were my friends. This is a trip, right? And so he assigns this paper. By the way, high school students, they assign papers in college and they just expect you to write them without like any help, right? I'm just kidding. There's help, you just have to go look for it. So the professor assigns a paper and the Pinay was like, okay, I can write this paper. The big question is, how do you solve racism? That's the paper, right? And she writes some radical stuff about like, you know, like how we need to like, you know, take all the white people out of power and all this, you know, kind of like off the wall stuff, which is considered radical, right? And look at us now, you know, like in 2021, talking about the same kinds of things. But so basically writes this paper, the professor takes it, the following week, he's like, I need to talk to you, right? So that Pinay was like, every time someone says that they need to talk to you, you're in trouble, right? And maybe because she's been called into the counselor's office in high school, she's been treated like, you know, like she's always in trouble. Even her parents, she was always in trouble. And so that teacher said, come here. And so the Pinay goes up to the teacher and says, what I do? And the professor says, here. And he hands her a paper and there's this big A on it. And she looked at him and she said, okay. And then he goes, here's your paper. You know you can write well. And she was like, okay. You know, like, she was so awkward because she had never had anyone give her a compliment, especially an educator, right? So she didn't know how to react. And he said, I want to know more about why you're here at Ohlone. You know, like, why did you choose a community college? I said, well, because I couldn't go anywhere else. And then he said, look, I just want to tell you, just by looking at this paper and just by your engagement in this class, that you have the potential to succeed. And those, like that short sentence completely transformed that Pinay's life. It just took one teacher. And so, I mean, if it's not evident right now, that's my story, right? I just like to tell it in some odd way, you know, like third person, first person, right? But so that professor changed my life. His name was Ramon Quesada. He was an ethnic studies professor. And people often ask me why I decided to become a teacher. And I tell them because I'm from the Bay, okay? Hella teachers hated me. I'm a loudmouth. Hella teachers hated me. But I had one teacher who loved me. And so I decided from that point on, that was going to be my dream, was to be that teacher who was going to be able to say to young people and to not so young people that they have the potential to succeed. Right. And so that really is my story. Yeah, like I just wanted to chismis a little bit about it because I feel like there's some people that either you or people that you know who have a similar story, like, you know, where people underestimate them, people don't believe in them. And really it takes one person to do so. So what happens to me? I end up, you know, like this professor not just changed my life, he literally walked me to the counselor. He walked me to a Kuya Jojo, right? Some kind of advisor. My advisors was not Kuya Jojo. I think Kuya Jojo was still in high school when that was going on. But so they brought me to Maria Elena, who was like my Kuya Jojo or somebody that, you know, this person. She was an EOP counselor, educational opportunity program counselor. And basically she sat with me and said, look, this is what you're going to do. She said, I'm going to let you know your dream is going to take a little longer than you anticipated, you know, because you have some courses to make up. You're going to have to take this many courses just to graduate, or not just to graduate, but to transfer. And then she's like, where do you want to go? And I said, well, my professor told me I should go to UC Berkeley. And she looked at me like, that's going to be impossible, right? But the professor like literally was still standing at the door as she's talking to me. And he goes, no, she's going to go to Berkeley. And I was like, oh, dang, I don't know. I heard Berkeley's for the smart people. And he goes, you need to stop acting that way. You are smart. You need to believe in yourself. And so literally, I had to like convince myself, talk to myself and tell myself I was smart. So the counselor helped me figure out my courses. I was taking like 20 to 22 units a semester, working 3 jobs. I come from a working class family. My dad's a janitor. Well, he's not anymore, he's retired, but he was a janitor. And my mom worked for the garbage company. And so like, just so you know, I don't come from a lot of money, but I have a lot of cultural wealth. And that actually helped me a lot. So my family didn't know what was going on with me. I was going to school like all the time. And then I literally called my mom when I applied to Berkeley, San Francisco State, Stanford. Those are only 3 schools that I applied to. And when I got the admissions to Berkeley, I called my mom from the phone. I said, Mom, I'm going to Berkeley. And she goes, why? It's dirty there. I was like, Mom, no. I'm going to Berkeley because I'm going to college there. She goes, oh, yeah. She didn't believe me at first. And then I told her, I said, no, I've been working hard and I'm going to go there. And so I transferred to Berkeley in the early 90s. That's the fashion that you all are wearing right now, by the way, the early 90s. And I went there and I was a dancer. I was a dance major for quite some time. But a lot of things got in the way of my dancing. And one of that was my activism. So I became very active on campus. I became the commissioner on the advancement of ethnic studies. And I couldn't keep up with the requirements in the dance department. Like you have to dance every day, like in the morning at 8, and I couldn't do it. But there was a moment when there was a juncture when I had a professor at Berkeley who made me make a choice. I asked him for an extra day off because I wanted to I wanted to participate in a protest that I had organized around the 500 years of resistance for Native Americans. And the professor told me, you have to choose. You have to choose between being an artist or an activist. And at that moment in my life, I chose. That's what I want to do. I want to be an activist. And I just want to be the person that you get to talk to today that says you really didn't have to choose, or I didn't have to choose, and you do not have to choose. So if you have like multiple things that are going on in your life and you want to double major, or you want to be an artist and then be a teacher, or be an academic, but then also be, play drums or rap or whatever, right? Or be on So You Think You Could Dance, that's fine. All of those things can happen. So I go to Berkeley. I end up graduating though with ethnic studies, and then eventually got my PhD at UCLA in education. I abbreviated that part of the story just because I don't have enough time. But to let you know, like I ended up at UCLA, became, that was like in the 2000s. Actually, I graduated the year 2000. And then became a professor of ethnic studies at San Francisco State, and developed a bunch of different things, but my dedication has been primarily to fight for youth. That has been my fight for quite some time, to fight for youth and to get them the kind of education that they deserve. So I really wanted to be the professor that changed my life. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. I run a program called Pinay and Pinoy Educational Partnerships. A lot of people know it as PEP. And we basically brought ethnic studies to San Francisco Unified Schools, specifically around Filipino, Filipinx, Filipina American experiences. And then I'm currently working on a national project. This is kind of a hush hush, but it's okay if it's recording. I'm working on a very, very big project to dismantle the grading system in the United States. I know it sounds a little bit out there, but I'm working on it. One of the things about that is that I'm developing a new index that will measure how schools provide wellness opportunities for young people instead of judging them through grades. I dream big, folk. You said on one of the emails is like, tell them how you dream big, kind of, right? And I'm like, I dream big. Like we've been using the same grading system in the United States since the 1700s. And it was based on slave schools. And so basically, why are we grading each other, or why are we grading students in the same way? So basically, that's one of my big things that I'm working on, is really providing an index to schools, a new measurement for schools to use that will measure whether or not they're providing the services and the know-how to provide wellness to young people. So I'll leave it at that. And I mean, I can, I think, how much time am I over already?
A little bit. You have one more minute if you want to do
I'll just
anything
stop
else.
there, because basically I hope my story is clear, like that there, like it's really important, like for you all to dream. And I think it's important for you to know, like that there are people out there that can support your dream. When you dream, it doesn't mean that you have to dream alone, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. All right. I'll leave it at that. And if there's time if you want me to stay for the break, I can take questions. You can also email me or call me. I'm not totally out of the world. You can reach out to me anytime.
We actually went into the break already. So students, if you do want to ask Dr. Allyson any questions, feel free to email her. Dr. Allyson, if you could put your email in the chat. Okay. And Ajala, you can do our little transition.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Allyson, for that amazing story you shared with us. But right now it's time to go into our workshop 3. Students, if you don't remember, you can access the link in your emails to go to your next workshop. And if y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask us here in the main Zoom, or contact us however you think is best for you.
Thank you. I'll stay here for a little bit in case anyone has a question or you want to talk to me about anything. I'm looking at the chat because I didn't look at the chat the whole time I was talking. Oh, I love that.
Man, Dr. Allison, I've heard that. I don't know how many times I've heard that story, but like every time I hear it, it's like it just like gets better and better.
Oh, I can never tell the same story the same way. So I'm sure I add different dimensions. I didn't talk about my dance career. That's its own story. I didn't talk about wanting to be a Warriors cheerleader. I'm still wearing blue and gold. Look at me.